This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dula from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi, show number 450. What is it now? 57. How about that? This is your place for Star Wars community and conversation. I am your host, Dan Z, drinking One Nation Coffee, the official brew of Coffee with Kenobi, out of my Rancho Obi-Wan coffee mug. And of course, as always, thrilled to be talking Star Wars with each and every one of you. On today's show, Holly Frey and James Burns join me as we break down all 9 episodes of Star Wars Visions, the anime Star Wars show that everyone has been so excited about. We've got a lot to get to, so I'm just going to cut right to it, pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
Joining us today to break down Star Wars Visions are 2 returning guests to Coffee with Kenobi. First, from Full of Sith, Holly Frey.
Hi, thanks so much for having me back.
You are welcome. I don't know that we're going to be talking too much about Rhodians today, but I have faith that you'll find a way to fit into the conversation.
Oh, I'm ready.
Good.
I'm ready over here. I've got it.
Excellent, excellent. Also joining us is from Jedi News, James Burns.
Hello, hello.
Hello, James. Good to have you back, my friend.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm very well. We've got a lot of fun things to talk about today. Everyone is very excited about Star Wars Visions. The 3 of us were fortunate enough to see it a little bit in advance, and we've got a lot to talk about. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to try to go over all 9 episodes. But before we get to that, Holly, let's start with you. Just overall, how did you feel about anime before you saw Star Wars Visions, and what do you think about the series overall?
I used to be way more into anime when I was, I don't know, probably 15 years ago or so, and I have not been keeping up with it as much. So this is kind of a new, a really beautiful way to refresh my love for it and be like, oh yes, I do love that all these art styles. I do love that mode of storytelling. So I had a really fun time with it, in addition to it just being like incredibly refreshing because it's Star Wars stories told without the constraints that, you know, can sometimes happen when people are bound by all of the rules of canon. And also just because it's so many different storytellers. It was like a refreshing delight and a reminder of why I love that kind of art anyway.
Wonderful. And James, what about you? Overall thoughts on anime specifically, and then what do you think of the entire series?
So I last watched anime when I was at university, like 25,000 years ago. So this was sort of new to me, if you understand what I'm saying. And I came into it and I wasn't quite sure what to expect. Because it wasn't canon, I sort of had some low expectations, probably wrongly. And so that's sort of where I was. And obviously, having seen all the episodes now and learned a lot more about the creators, I'm fully into it, and I'm completely immersed. And my head's been turned again.
Oh wow, very good. By the way, you look great for 25,000 years old.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. For me, overall, anime. Gosh, I mean, over the years, it's mostly in my 20s. I feel like anime was huge at that time period. I mean, I watched Vampire Hunter D. I grew up with Speed Racer, of course, and then my kids all like Pokemon. So that's pretty much the extent of my anime background. I wouldn't call it a wealth of knowledge in that regard. So I was, I guess, probably a little trepidatious about this because I wasn't sure what to expect. But because it was Star Wars, I was willing to give it a chance. But what I found so wonderful about this is the themes of found family, the spiritual nature of the Force, the mysticism of being a Jedi, the sacred nature of a sword or a lightsaber, and a couple of other little nuggets. I found this so captivating and so refreshing, and I found myself reflecting on it more than I usually do on an initial viewing of something Star Wars related. So I, like you both, I found it quite refreshing. And the fact that it wasn't constrained by the canon was fine. In fact, it helped me to sort of open doors in my brain to possibilities of where these stories could go.
Yes.
Very
And
good.
there's I was going to say that there's even one or two of them that, although they're not canon, could be canon, and they would fit into the timeline without any real effort, to be honest.
Interesting. All right, well then let's I don't feel like it's fair to say what our favorite one is. Maybe that'll just happen organically, or maybe we'll save it for the end of this review. But we're going to start with the duel. Holly, give us your grade for the duel, and then of course defend your grade itself.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, right? Grading is subjective. You
True.
as a teacher know there are times when like it's not all correct or incorrect answers. I'm gonna I promise I'm not giving everything an A grade, but there are going to be a lot of them. And I'm definitely giving the duel an A. For one thing, stylistically, it's breathtaking. It is absolutely beautiful. It's everything I've ever loved about anime. I really like that minimized color palette. I like the dramatic staging of scenes, right? It harkens back to Kurosawa and the way he would frame a scene. And it tells the story in a way that is dramatic and engaging, but it's not overcomplicated. So I'm sticking with my A on that one.
I like that. And James, what about you?
I'm going to go with an A as well. Obviously, this is the first one that we get to see. And the way it's lit, the music, just everything about it, the surprises, the references to other Star Wars films. I mean, there is so much in this one. And Kamikaze Duga have done such a fantastic job at bringing the mythology into the story and telling it in a way that is really engaging, and you're really drawn in, and then you're shocked at the outcome without giving too much away.
True. Very true. Yeah. So it's a Kamikaze Duga. Is that the pronunciation of the studio name?
Yes.
Yep. And then we've got Takanobu Mizonu is the director of the duel. So this is an interesting one because this is kind of the one that was the standout for the trailer itself, because of that stunning image of the warrior pulling the lightsaber out of a sheath, and it's a red blade itself. This is a lone warrior, and there is a novel that's going to come out. I believe it's in October 12th. It's called Star Wars Visions Ronin. So it basically tells this story and adds a lot to what's going on. This was amazing. When I watched it with Mason, he said, "Dad, why is it black and white?" Yeah, and I said, well, I think that's like a stylistic choice, because then it makes the red lightsaber blade stand out. I was fascinated by this. It very much had the tones of Kurosawa, naturally, Lone Wolf and Cub, as we learned from the making of. And the fact that everything is timed to a tea kettle, I thought was an example of pure storytelling brilliance. Holly, are there certain key elements that stand out in this episode for you?
That's also one of those things that comes up a lot in Japanese film, right? Like they lay out the plot in a way that very mundane things are kind of marking the passage of time sometimes. This, one of the things I really loved about this was the way the villain, and I feel like you got to air quotes it on some of these, the way the villain is revealed in their human form, because we initially see them, fully cloaked and masked. That's just like a beautiful reveal moment, like literally in terms of animation and how it's focused on. The other thing I really love about this is that the whole time I was watching it, I kept thinking, like, this is the perfect on-ramp. Like, there's a really good reason this is the first one, and it's because it definitely, if you have an idea in your head of what anime is, probably this will fit it in some way, you know what I mean, if you've never been exposed to it. But it also still feels very, very Star Wars, and the marriage of those two is really, really smooth here. And so I can see where it's like, yes, of course, this is the gate. There's also that beautiful, I don't want to give too much away, there's a really beautiful waterfall scene in it that is kind of happening at the height of dramatic tension. And I just love it because of the juxtaposition of something that we are very aware of can be both life-giving, which is water, and also destructive. And if you think about water in that way, that scene has that whole other like layer, a whole patina of meaning on top of it.
What a beautiful explanation. I absolutely love that.
I love the way that whole scene is mirrored on the Phantom Menace.
Mhm.
Yes.
And that was explained. And I didn't really see that at first, although I loved it. And I loved your description, Holly. I mean, it's perfect. But after hearing that it was based on the duel from that, I had to go back and rewatch it, because the staging and the way it's timed is just so beautiful. And the other thing I just wanted to say about this episode is the troopers and the costumes and the way that the AT-AT body is repurposed as a vehicle. Just some amazing, amazing things going on there.
There's a lot of great sort of reinventions of different things we know from Star Wars. The AT-AT you just mentioned. There's certainly a very unique way to present a Sith lightsaber in a sort of a Mary Poppins fashion, I guess you could probably say. Seeing Trandoshans in that fashion, I thought was really great. And then that droid with that heavy repeating cannon was pretty great as well. There's something pretty magical about, like, you can't help but be compelled to know more about this lone warrior, what motivates him, the fact that he's collecting these red kyber crystals. Because by now everybody's had a good 24 hours to have watched all the episodes, so we're definitely, as Holly said, we're not going to spoil them, but it's going to be hard not to allude to specific key elements of this. Certainly, it's reasonable to assume that you would pause this. You haven't seen all the episodes, but I think there's enough there to definitely get your palate ready for more exciting things. Anything else about this one before we move on to Tatooine Rhapsody?
I think we're good.
I think so too. In fact, I'm going to go watch it again. So excuse me. Yes.
Okay, goodbye.
Yeah, see it. I don't know did I say it? Go ahead, James.
I was going to say that people need to rewatch these. I mean, the three of us have been really, really fortunate that we've been able to watch the episodes. We've been able to watch the amazing behind the scenes stuff, to talk to the creators and so much more. And I've watched all of them 3 times now, and there's still things that I'm seeing and Easter eggs, and they are really, really captivating in a way I never thought they would be. So I apologize for in advance thinking, oh, this is just going to be something that I just watch once and sort of forget about it because it's not canon. But I've actually found the opposite, and I've been completely taken in by it. So yeah, I mean, they are really, really good.
Oh, I don't think you should apologize. I mean, that's intellectual honesty, right? I mean, it's how you felt, and you gave it a chance, and obviously it's worked well for you. The only thing I want to say about the duel, which I don't remember if I gave a letter grade, but it's certainly an A, is I think the fight choreography is exquisite. The fact that you can choreograph fight sequences the way that they do in these anime episodes is just remarkable. So speaking of remarkable, I'm very excited to talk about Tatooine Rhapsody. I certainly made a big stink about it at the junket. Holly, we're going to start with you on this one.
Okay. I will tell you that in my historical viewing of anime, I was not into the more chibi ones normally. Yet that's kind of getting flipped on its head with this series. I love this one so much. Like, it feels like, a postcard to my heart. Like, there's just something so wonderful and sweet about it. It brings in, we touch on some serious elements of Star Wars lore, but overall, it's a very feel-good, fun kind of adventure rock opera. There are Rhodians. What I really love is that you do see kind of chibi versions of like every species you might love from Tatooine, every type of character. And it's just, it's hilarious at points. I mean, it takes you on a really fun ride. And I'm sorry, chibi Boba Fett is going to be hard to beat. So I give it an A+.
Wonderful. James?
I was honestly going to say A+ as well, because this is one of my favorite episodes. It's fun. It's light-humored. It would actually fit into canon probably right after A New Hope. And I think it's glorious. I think it shows a side of Jabba that we haven't necessarily seen before. The music is awesome. And it just sort of ticks every box. And I had a huge grin on my face the first time I've watched this. And sort of every other time since, it's just a feel-good, fun episode. And there's nothing here that I didn't really like.
I think we're unanimous. I'm giving this one an A+ as well. when it first started, I thought, okay, here's what I sort of vaguely remember about anime. I'm a little lost about what's going on, but that went away rather quickly. It did take me a while to get used to seeing a Hutt that was a bass player. I never thought I'd say that sentence in my life, but boy, did I get used to it. And the fact that they repurpose a lightsaber and turn it into a microphone because he's got a different path for himself, but yet it's still one that is welcome and brings a little bit of peace, at least for a brief time in Jabba's palace. That song is so flipping awesome. Like, it reminded me of sort of the cut sequences from the Guitar Hero video games, or like 80s or 90s rock. And I believe the director mentioned the Clash. Isn't it right? Was it the Clash? No, it was
Jefferson.
No, I keep thinking the Clash, the Ramones, but that's not it. Do you remember, Holly?
Ramones. It was Ramones, I think.
Yeah.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the Ramones.
I mean, they're all kind of in that same sort of wheelhouse, but yeah, this was probably the lightest of the bunch. Yeah. But it had some really nice dramatic tension because, Boba Fett and Jabba are not to be trifled with. But, when I saw the special edition Return of the Jedi and Boba Fett was kind of flirting and kind of being all cool, like he was some sort of college frat boy, I had a hard time with that. In this, when he starts tapping his toes and knocking his head around, I was there for that. I absolutely love this one as well.
They need to release this as a single or something because it's
right.
It really is. It's a great feel-good song.
And then Joseph Gordon-Levitt just nailed the lyrics on this thing.
Yeah. I feel like the Hutts are the gift that keeps on giving in Star Wars. Like, probably none of us back at Jedi ever thought, like, I'm going to come to love Hutts. But between Zero and this, like, forget it. I just love Hutts now. I've accepted it.
It's all right. I think that's great. Anything else on this one before we move on to the twins?
Can we play the single?
Yeah, here we go. I'm sure I won't be dinged for copyright at all. Good deal. So, all right, let's talk about the twins. Holly, we'll just continue our pattern. We'll just have you go first.
Okay. The twins is the one I struggled with the most. It is a lot. Like, there's a lot going on. And I do not mean this in a denigrating way. It feels a little bit like Star Wars casserole. Like, it's a flip on what we know of the twins. But then it brings in a cajillion little elements of Star Wars that we've all seen before, and it kind of bakes them together in one thing that is different than what we know, but also very familiar. That's why I call it Star Wars casserole. It's like all the ingredients I recognize, but this tastes very different from anything I've had before. There's some really fun physics in it, which I enjoyed quite a bit. Like, they are actually acknowledging that there's no up in space. It's a lot. I'm going to give it a C+, just because it's so much and probably shows my age.
Hey, you know what? I respect that. As I always say, to be a reasonable, respected critic, sometimes when you say no, it makes your yes mean more. So I respect that. All right, James, how do you feel about this one?
I started watching this one and I had to stop it and restart it and go back because I was getting a little bit confused as to exactly what was being played out. And it just took me a couple more moments longer than it necessarily should have done, maybe to get into it. I sort of understood what they were trying to achieve. And obviously there's the parallels with Luke and Leia, but I don't know, there was something that I didn't like. There was an awful lot going on. I loved the visuals. The visuals were fantastic, and I think they did a phenomenal job with that. But I don't know. For me, this was a C. It's the one that I've watched a couple of times now, and I just think, I don't know. There is a lot going on for such a short piece of animation, and they could have, if they'd taken, maybe just a small section of the story and expanded on that, maybe it would have flowed a little bit better. I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as the other two that we've talked about so far.
Well, I think the three of us are much more hive-minded than we maybe initially realized. So this one, the director is Hiroyuki Imaishi. And thanks again to Lucasfilm for giving us pronunciations, because names are so important and sacred. I do not want to mispronounce them. So this one, this was my least favorite of all of them. I think. I gave it a B only because I really liked sort of the Funhouse mirror version of twins, but this time they're in the dark side, at least allegedly. And the only reason I gave it a B is because I really like the designs of their Sith armor and the physics that you mentioned, Holly. The way that the Star Destroyer is sort of dismantled, I thought was very, very clever. But I had a hard time following this one. And after a while, there was so much yelling and so much intensity and so much extreme exaggeration, which the director flat out says, hey, I did that on purpose. And his passion was quite contagious in the making of. I really enjoyed hearing him speak. But this one I thought was very, very busy, and maybe that just is showing my age as well. But this one worked for me probably the least.
Star Wars casserole. See?
Yep, Star Wars casserole. That's a great way to put it. Anything else about this one before we move on?
It's really amazing that the three of us haven't talked about these episodes at all, but we're all coming to pretty much the same conclusions.
Right. It'll vary. I'm confident we're going to diverge at some point.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, let's talk about the next one. Let's talk about the Village Bride. Holly, this is exactly how you and your husband met, isn't it?
Yes, he conquered my family. No. This one really tugged at my heartstrings for the simple reason that it feels the most Miyazaki of this entire group to me, which is like the inroad to my heart. Even the way the story is told and unfolds, it feels very much in the style of a Miyazaki film. So anybody that has enjoyed, Totoro or Kiki or why am I blanking out? Spirited Away.
Yes.
It looks very similar and it feels very similar in how the story beats are presented. It's so sad and so beautiful at the same time. That you kind of can't. I mean, I got very fished into the emotionality of it. Just for variety's sake, I'm going to give it an A-, just so I don't give everything the same. Really, I'm giving it an A.
Okay. James.
For me, I'm going to give this one a B. I did like it. It stands out completely from the 3 episodes that we talked about previously. I love the tone. I thought the tone was done beautifully, and I loved the story. I thought the way that the characters evolved in such a short period of time was done incredibly well, and I like the message, obviously, and it's nice to see. Anime is such a broad brush sometimes. It can be so many things, and I think for all of the 9 episodes that we got to see, even only 1 or 2 of them are, similar or similar styles. Every one of them is different and brings something new and original. And this is a great example of that. And I really, really enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Well, I guess we are going to diverge a little bit on this one, as predicted by one of our resident Jedi, Holly Frey. This one is directed by Hitoshi Haga, The Village Bride.
Yes.
This one is an A+ for me. I can't give it enough pluses. I can't give it enough superlatives. If this isn't my favorite one, it's going to be 1A. I'm still sort of uncertain, but it might have a slight edge. This one was just absolutely gorgeous. I really love the very slow burn that led to an amazing climactic ending. I love the idea of the sacredness of family and found family and the beauty of nature. And I feel like this one really emphasized the idea of, the Force is an energy field created by all living things, surrounds us, penetrates us, binds the galaxy together. The idea of the mountain is almost being like God or gods for the Japanese people is explained very, very well by the director in the behind the scenes thing. And then I get to laugh at battle droids at the end, which makes me very happy. And it had one heck of a fantastic ending. And I love the idea of the lone hero who rejects the notion of rising to the challenge and finally, when faced with true adversity, does. So this one was the most hero's journey, I think, perhaps, of any of them. And if I had to pick one to be on loop for the rest of my life, this would be the one. So yeah, I liked it.
So that's an A and 7 pluses? Is that where you landed?
7, it sounds good to me.
Okay.
Only 7?
Oh, 7 pluses. That's a lot. And my hands hurt after any more pluses.
He ran out of page.
It's true. It's true. Let's get like Miss Lippy in that Happy Gilmore. Yeah, or no, Billy Madison. Fair enough. Well, let's talk about the Ninth Jedi. This one was done by Kinjika Miyama. The Ninth Jedi. Holly, what do you think about this one?
I have a very specific to me experiential reason that this one really resonated with me, which is that I was fortunate enough to go to Galaxy's Edge recently with several friends of mine, and we got in a big discussion about lightsaber crystals and lightsaber building because I had them do that and I filmed them building their sabers. But so this, which is about that whole thing and flips the lore, everything we've known about lightsaber building on its head, right? In lieu of this situation that we've been told through the saga and through the Clone Wars that, you have to find your crystal and it calls to you. And that, your essence is reflected in your lightsaber, but in a different way than this does it. So this idea that, one, there's a clandestine saber builder. Oh, I love that as a story beat. Two, that it's actually the wielder who determines the color of the blade once they pick up that clandestinely built saber, and how that plays out is so cool. I'm going to give this a solid A.
Excellent. James?
I'm going to give it an A-. For me, I really enjoyed it, and I really liked the way that the story came together. I think the story was incredible. I think they told us that it was like two stories coming together, and it was done incredibly well. And this is the longest episode that we got to see. And there was a little bit of it that sort of reminded me of Harry Potter with the creation of the wands. You go to Ollivander's, you get your wand, and they find the right wand for the wizard. And I thought this was a little bit, I could see elements of that in this with the way the lightsabers were given to the Jedi, and then their inner strength chose the crystal, if that makes sense. But there was some again, the animation here is incredible. The music for this one was probably, it is just absolutely stunning. I think they've done an incredible job with the music across all of these episodes, but here I thought the music really, really stood out. And I really, really enjoyed it.
I love this one as well. I give this one an A. There are a lot of great twists in this one. There's a great twist at the end with the final duel that I really liked. This one kind of hits all the right beats for me too, story-wise. I love the idea of a saber forger as well, and the fact that it takes what we know about kyber crystals and Jedi and that ceremony, and just the building of a legacy for yourself, a selfless legacy for yourself if you're a Jedi Knight. That was fascinating to me. There's the great story beats with sort of justifiable vengeance, but done from an attempt at peace. I love that so much. The notion, like you mentioned, Holly, about how your nature determines the color of the blade. I can't tell you how much I love that. I didn't think I would, because I'm such a sucker for the traditional aspects of Star Wars, but this worked in a way that I did not expect. This one and The Village Bride had me really hungry for true Japanese mythology and learning more about Japanese culture. And I don't know if are either of you aware of how women and female heroes are looked at and referred to in Japanese popular culture? Because this really had me wondering about that, because I was really drawn to this one.
Teach us, teacher.
I don't know. I was hoping that one of you did.
I
thought you had the answer
for an explainer. Yeah.
I wish. I need to know more.
Well, can you find out and then come back and teach us?
Right.
I can. This is one I think I'm going to show in one of my mythology classes at school, because I feel like this would be a good opportunity for some research, just kind of see what's going on. I really, really like this one a lot. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the last 4 episodes of Star Wars Visions. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
With travel beginning to open up and Walt Disney World and Disneyland reaching full capacity, this is the time to book your Disney World vacation with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Their signature service and expert advice will help clients maximize their vacation, time, and dollar. I use Becky Menken and MEI's incredible services all the time, both for family and for travel for the show, because of their no cost, no obligation quote when you use the service. Plus, they proactively adjust a booking if the rate goes down. Literally, I will wake up one morning and I will get an email from MEI saying that the price went down, and I will get a refund sent to my credit card right away. I don't have to do anything. They help your family enjoy everything Galaxy's Edge and the Disney theme parks and the cruise lines have to offer, can help you plan every detail, and always share invaluable tips. That's for Walt Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Cruise Lines, or other cruise lines. It doesn't have to be Disney related. They literally can help you plan a vacation anywhere on the planet. Be sure to go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel and sign up for a free no obligation quote to any of the Disney theme parks on the planet or any vacation that you have in mind. You'll have the best vacation possible and help out me and Coffee with Kenobi in the process. We are back. We've got 4 more to discuss. Right now, we are on Toby 1. I believe that is how it is pronounced. Abel Gongora, I guess, is the director of this one. Holly, we'll start with you again on this one.
Okay, it's no secret I'm a Disney dork. So, when you make an anime that's WALL-E plus Pinocchio plus beautifully designed characters, I'm in. I'm so in. Again, this is one that when we had seen some of the preliminary promotional materials before the actual shorts were available to us, I did not think this was going to be the one for me, and yet I fell so deeply in love with it. The idea that a droid is dreaming about being a Jedi, just as Pinocchio dreamed about being a real boy, and that he has these fantasies about what that would be like, which is an attribution of personality we don't often get into the inner workings of a droid. Like, we particularly here in, reality talk about how computers are only what they're programmed to be, but this idea of a droid having hopes and dreams at this level in the sweetest way possible is just so, like, it's almost painfully charming. I'm going to give this my 2 pluses. It's A++.
All right. Excellent. James.
An A+ from me as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece. And I loved the way that it mirrors Pinocchio and all the other stories that we love from Disney. And it was just told in such a really, really lovely way. And I liked the fact that the master used some of the quotes from Rogue One. There was just so many little threads here, so many little Easter eggs that just been pulled together. And it was just beautiful. It was just a really, really nice. I thought initially, like you, Holly, that this was going to be a bit, oh, here we go again. It's going to be cutesy, and it's not really going to have much substance. But it had so much. Mm-hmm. And I loved the drawings on the wall. And that was described that, I think one of the creators said in the behind the scenes that he'd always wanted to draw on the wall as a kid, but never could. So here he's drawing all over the walls, which was it was lovely. And it was just a beautifully done piece of animation with a lovely story and subtext. And there's some lovely lessons. I think in all of these, there's some really nice lessons to learn. And I think you could pick them apart with your classes, Dan, and find different things in here to teach different life lessons.
Oh, I like that. Well, I think this is where my cold-hearted cynic is going to show up, which I'm not often accused of being. But so what I liked about this, I'm going to focus on that first. I really like the relationship. If you've ever wondered, ladies and gentlemen, if what Geppetto and Yoda combined would look like, now we have the answer. Yep. So I like that. I love the relationship. I too like the emphasis of language in actual written language on the walls. There's a nice kind of a historical idea and mythological feel to that. The villain I thought was pretty neat, and I knew I was supposed to feel emotional about this, and I did, but I didn't. This one was the biggest kind of a challenge for me to get through. I don't know. I guess I just like more of the intensity of some of the other episodes, although I'm a massive Disney fan as well. I know all 3 of us are. So I did like the kind of a clever wink to the Pinocchio fable itself. But this one was probably either this one or the twins were my least favorite. Actually, I'd probably give this one the edge over the twins.
Wow.
Danzy, human monster.
I'm just gobsmacked. Have you taken a red pill today or something?
It was, but hold on, I gotta change my business card. Holly gave me a good acronym there.
Human
That's good.
monster. Yeah. No, I mean, here's the thing, right? Art is entirely subjective, and what hits one person deeply is not always going to hit another person the same way. Like, that's the beauty of it. That's why we need so much art, so that everyone sees an expression of what speaks to them. So I'm perfectly happy when people don't like what I like. It just means we need more art in the world.
I saw my brother in this. My brother was a mischievous little child, and he just tried to get his hands into anything and everything. And I actually saw him in this. I don't know why, but it just, I could see so many parallels, and it just pulled me in. Maybe that was it. But I'm very, very nostalgic for Disney, and Pinocchio for me is an all-time classic. And there was just so many similar elements there, and Wally, and just so many other things all brought together in this 8, 9, 10 minute short. And I just think it was done beautifully. And I remember seeing people's faces when BB-8 came out on the stage at Celebration, and I can imagine people's faces lighting up when they see Toby 1. So I don't know, I of all of these shorts that we got, I can see that being a cute cuddly teddy bear more so than anything else.
Well, that was just very sweet. I respect that very much. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the sentimentality of it. I don't know.
Go and watch it again.
All right, I think I will. Yeah, Mason hasn't seen this one yet, so I really want to. I bet you he will absolutely love it.
Mason will love this one.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. So The Elder is a title of one of the least popular Kiss albums of all time, but it's also the episode of this episode is the 7th one. The director of The Elder, let me pull it up here, is Mashihiko Otsuka. I think that's right. Holly, what'd you think of this one?
This one is tricky for me because I have to separate it out. And this is purely like a taste thing. This isn't in any way a criticism. This is my least favorite style of anime animation visually. So again, they've done nothing wrong. It's just not what calls to me. Story, A+. Visuals, I'm going to give it a B-. Again, just a personal preference thing. I feel like the story of this one is so beautiful. And I really, really love the discussion of age and time, which probably speaks to me because I am, not a spring chicken. But this idea that the Jedi acknowledge we're going to age. Whatever your most powerful is, great. It's not going to last. And it's such an opposition to the way we see the Sith talk about power and clinging to power. The idea that power flows and it ebbs and you don't get to keep it forever versus cling to it with everything you've got, even if it destroys you and everyone around you. Like, that's just powerful. And it's to me, particularly meaningful. I turned 50 this year, so this is a particularly meaningful tale.
That's wonderful. I'll be there in a year from now, so
catch up.
Yeah,
I'll take my time, but I will be there soon. James, what about this one? Catch up. I love that.
I liked this one as well. For me, this one felt very similar to Attack of the Clones, and felt closer to some of what we've seen before in the actual saga, if that makes sense. This was one of those episodes that I thought could fit in somewhere quite easily. It's a story of a master and his Padawan that we hadn't seen potentially, and then there's this elder Sith that we'd never seen before in Star Wars mythology, and suddenly, he's on this planet. I couldn't get over the beard on the master. That was just, I was like, has somebody scribbled on his face? I didn't like that. So that took me out of it straight away. And that was a real shame. But apart from that, yes, the story was fantastic. I loved the Sith ship. The Sith ship looked amazing. I loved the way that the wings folded down. I love that design, and I think, Lego. Can we have that, please?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was. I completely get what you're saying, Holly, because that beard just really threw me.
Yes,
but the story
did the same to me. Yeah,
but the story was phenomenal, and it's stuff that we've seen before, and I can definitely see Qui-Gon talking to Obi-Wan in a similar way, and Obi-Wan talking to Anakin, and even Anakin talking to Ahsoka in the same way. So we've seen those conversations play out on screen before, but it was done really, really well. And I liked the way that, little spoiler here, that once the Elder was overcome, he destroyed all the evidence as if he didn't exist. So I found that so because of that, I thought, well, it could fit into the saga story, because yes, there's always supposedly two Sith, but here is somebody else that maybe has been training and has hidden and doesn't want anybody to know that he existed.
So we've got Hirsute, a review. I love that. And able to, it's clever. All right, so this one is the one that ties for my very favorite one. I absolutely love this one. I don't have socks right now because this one knocked them off. I loved it. It was definitely an A+ for me, maybe 6 pluses, whereas Village Bride was 7 pluses. I love, again, this had a really slow burn with an amazing payoff. When we first watched the trailer for this, Mason and I thought, well, this villain looks the most like Palpatine of any of them. I love the sacred nature of the teacher student. Of course, I'm going to like it. Also had kind of a parental feel to it as well. I like that they had sort of a non-traditional relationship similar to Obi-Wan and Anakin, but it wasn't tempestuous. There was no like tension between the two of them. There was nothing but mutual respect and allowing both of them to grow how they chose to grow, how they were able to do so. The power of age and the wisdom and the other challenges that can bring. Again, I love the ending fight sequence. I think I'm just a sucker for seeing the bad guy get his comeuppance. I really think that's a big part of this one as well. And in my head canon, the Padawan was inspired by me because his name is Dan, even though it's not even close to the truth. But I told Mason that, and he rolled his eyes at me. So when a 7-year-old rolls their eyes at you, you know you're in for something special. Interesting. Well,
what did you think?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what did you think of the scribble on his face?
I loved it. I like, sweet. That looks like me after about 3 days. Quite honestly.
I'm going to need photographic evidence.
Okay. Yeah.
That'll be very easy.
I think you need to come that way to Celebration.
Okay, there you go. Oh, I can cosplay. I like it.
There you go. There you go.
All right, so the next one, is it Lop and Ocho? Is that the pronunciation of this one?
Yes.
Okay, so this one is by Yokiiga Rashi. I think that's how you pronounce it. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly. Holly, I'm thinking you love this one.
Speaking of cosplay, right? Like, if this does not feature the characters that we see the most of at Celebration, I'll be shocked. This is another one that I thought, it might be too cute for me. No, I'm deeply in love with it. One, there is some good costuming opportunity, right? If you want to do the cute bunny action of Lop, or Ocho's second look, which is incredibly powerful and beautiful. I like I said, I expected that this was going to be too cutesy for me, but the way it very quickly reveals itself to be a much deeper and darker story about choices and family and found family and how you negotiate strife within your family and between people that you love is just so powerful. I mean, who among us has not dealt on a much smaller scale with something like that? And this is a really nice representation of what that feels like. I also just found it so it's very moving in a way that I didn't anticipate, to see that struggle play out. And some of that is just spectacular voice performance. but I really, really ended up just adoring this one. I am giving this one 3 pluses.
Ooh.
Yeah. It might be my favorite. I'm always a little reticent when it comes to naming favorites, but because sometimes a different one will be my favorite, right? It's very mood dependent and like what I need that day. But this one is way, way up there and probably has the edge at the moment.
James.
Favorites are very, very subjective, and it's like when somebody says to you, "Well, who's your favorite child?" And I don't have a favorite child, but
People say that to you?
Yeah, some people do, and I say, "Well, this one's been really good today," or "This one's done this thing," and it changes. You know, things like that change all the time. Because
is it your children asking you that?
Sometimes, more often than not, yes. But you know, when somebody turns around to you and says, well, "What's your favorite item in your collection?" and well, today it's this because of this, and this is what's going on in my life, and that's why. So, completely agree with you, and that's true. I mean, I give this an A+ as well. I loved it. I had to watch this one twice. The before I could formulate an opinion on it, because I was sort of worried that it was going to be too Jackson, but it wasn't. And obviously we've seen Jackson appear in the Marvel comics recently, and it was done incredibly well. And I was just a little bit worried that this was going to be too much Rabbit, but it wasn't. And you sort of got over that very, very quickly, and you were just drawn into the characters and the story of betrayal and of families and of sort of passing the baton without giving too much away from family member to family member was done beautifully, and it had a real resonance with me.
I really think it's cool that, Holly, you brought up Galaxy's Edge earlier. I've certainly made no bones about the fact that building a lightsaber at Galaxy's Edge is in a land where everything is wonderful. That is the 7 pluses for me. I absolutely love that. I mean, it's a very spiritual, wonderful thing. Watching my son do it was just a game changer for me. This had that in it. I love this one. This one is certainly an A for me. When I like both of you, when I saw the trailer and I saw the rabbit, I thought, this will be a meh for me. I'm not really interested in that. But boy, did it work. It worked beautifully. The found family, the sacred, beautiful nature, and the reverence of the lightsaber. What I thought was cool about this one, there are a lot of things great about it, but the fact that it was very sword / lightsaber based, but it really wasn't about the Force. And I found that a really, really cool twist on a very, very familiar trope that doesn't exist in any Star Wars story that I can think of. So I really enjoyed that a lot. Whenever you see the symbolic nature of a Japanese woman cutting her hair, and then you punctuate that with the blood, the symbolism of that was tremendous. I love the dad in this one so much. He would kind of remind me of the dad in Luca a little bit.
I can see that.
Yeah. And I just found it very, very engrossing. I didn't want it to end, but I couldn't wait to see what was going to happen. I found myself so frustrated with Ocho, but obviously that's the point. This one, I feel like all of them open the door to future stories, but this one, maybe more than any of them, has the most direct, okay, we need chapter 2. Yeah.
I was disappointed in Ocho.
Me too.
As were we all.
Yes, exactly.
But I mean, I understand the desire to wear that outfit. I do. So
it was cool.
Maybe that was it.
No matter how good of a person you are, look, there's some good tailoring going on the bad guy's side. There just is.
She couldn't have just worn it for Halloween and just been, happy with that.
Yeah. Did you both catch the Galaxy's Edge Marketplace vibe whenever they were showing them in different cities? Or like,
oh yeah.
I thought that was huge.
I do feel that Disney and Lucasfilm are trying to push in very, very subtle ways, and I'm happy that they're doing it. That they're trying to push Galaxy's Edge a little bit wherever they can, and I think that's great. I've got no qualms with that.
Yeah, fine by me.
But this is a good opportunity to say, Lucasfilm and Disney, for listening, can you film an episode of The Mandalorian in Batuu, please? That would take care of everything. And the three of us are available as extras. We will be waiting for you in August.
Yeah, happily.
But Dan, it doesn't have to be The Mandalorian. It can be any Disney Plus live action series that you're going to shoot obviously Star Wars, but yeah, you can. Yeah, please.
That's true. I just selfishly want Din Djarin to walk past me. I think that would be cool.
Listen, odds are good I will be there anyway. So
Yeah, right. I hear you.
Unfortunately, I still can't fly to the States. So.
We'll figure out a way to sneak you in.
Yeah, well, there are ways. I mean, it's been 18 months. I haven't been to the States for 18 months. This is the longest time ever.
I know.
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully very soon. All right, let's hit the last one. Is it Akakiri? Is that how you both understand? Yeah. Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
So Holly, take it away.
Here is what I love about this one. That whole concept of destiny, right? Like I love the rebelliousness of like destiny doesn't do anything and doesn't determine me. And it's kind of heartbreaking when you realize you're caught in a mechanism that you didn't see that may or may not call it destiny or no, but like it's leading you down the path that you thought you weren't going down. Speaks to me a lot. This one is an interesting place to end this series, right? Because it's a little more solemn at the end. It's not particularly happy. There's a beautiful, element of what love truly is, what it is to truly want to give of yourself for someone else and to prioritize them over you. That is very moving. I just for variety's sake, I'm going to give it an A-. I'm just making that minus up. It's again an A.
James.
I tend to agree. I think the trouble is that there's something in every single episode that we can find resonance in, and there's something there for us as Star Wars fans. And I think it's very, very difficult to say, to grade these in a hypercritical way, because the more you watch them, the more you find. If you watch them once and then head to the behind the scenes stuff, which I'm so thankful they're bringing out on the same day that these episodes drop, because they give you an insight that, because we're not so used to watching anime, for me, it really, really helped. It helped me understand the inspiration and the way that they were seeing Star Wars, which through our eyes, we don't really see it in the same way. So to see that open up and to see Star Wars in a whole different way was incredible and enlightening. And I loved what they did with this episode, and with the red mist and the juxtaposition that was going on here. It was beautiful.
This one for me is also an A-. It was, I agree, it was a really nice way to end it. It was very beautiful. Again, I seem to be captivated by wise Jedi with beards. Maybe that's how I secretly view myself, or hope to view myself. I don't know, but this one was a little bit shorter than the others, and I dare say, at least to me, the creepiest Star Wars villain I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, that's a fair assessment.
It looked like a serial killer or something to me, almost like the Joker, a heavy set Joker with a nasty lightsaber situation going on. Yeah, I agree. I like the notions of love and sacrifice, the battle of free will versus destiny that ultimately kind of blends into soft determinism was really kind of wonderful, and the idea of loyalty as well. This one hit all the right emotional beats for me too, and I like the hero's struggles. And I believe the American dub was Henry Golding. Is that right?
I think so.
Certainly sounded like him. I didn't catch the credit. They went really, really quickly on that one. But yeah, this was really, really fantastic. So here's the question that I've gotten the most from Coffee with Kenobi listeners, and I think this is a perfect way to end the show. The question I get the most is, okay, I'm glad you're excited for this, but is it Star Wars? Holly, is Star Wars Vision Star Wars?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, we have all talked about many, many times, I'm sure. There's an interesting reflective thing going on where a lot of Star Wars is inspired by Japanese storytelling to begin with. Like George Lucas has talked about, his reverence for Kurosawa and his desire to create a similar mythology to the stuff that you see in those films. And so for this to then get to tell Star Wars in the Japanese style, for lack of better phrasing, it feels almost like Star Wars comes home to its roots, right? And to me, what's beautiful about Star Wars is its breadth. There's something for everyone in any of the sagas, right? Like, I always joke that I love all the background weirdos because that's where I feel like are the most interesting. That's where I would be in Star Wars. I would be a background weirdo. And so there's something like that, some touchstone like that for everyone. And this just expands those opportunities to find a thing you love. But the themes of family, of what it truly is to choose your path, what it is to be good or evil, how it feels to confront an evil you didn't even know was there until it's too late. All of that is present here, just in new and beautiful ways. It's kind of like when you hear a great, musician, like a violinist, play some piece that you've heard many, many times before, but they add their extra flourish to it. It's very Star Wars.
Excellent answer. James, I'm glad that you're following that up instead of me.
It's so true. We know George pulled on that. We've heard Dave Filoni talk about the same thing. And we even heard Jon Favreau saying that a lot of his influences have come from here as well. So if you think that all of that is sort of deeply baked within the Star Wars that we know and love and have had for almost 45 years, then you look at this and it's definitely Star Wars. It's Star Wars told in a slightly different way, but it's centered around the Force. It's centered around the lightsaber. And if you take a step back and look at what the Force is, which is this thing that binds us and binds the galaxy together and is all around us, it's this mysticism. It's so many things that touch our lives each and every day. And you can see this imbued in every single one of these 9 episodes. And it's beautifully done. And it does make me want to go and look at some of the sources that Lucas, Filoni, Favreau have used over the years, because I love the way that the lightsaber is used as a metaphor for other things, and how as you described, I think in the Village Bride, the way that the whole region, all the mountains are there as a god, or for me that was really about the Force. The Force is there. It's a living, breathing thing, and you bring all of that together, and that's sort of Japanese lore, and sort of here we are as Star Wars fans from the West, and it's like it's a coming together of all of those things at once.
So
doesn't make any sense what I said, but
no, that was also beautiful. You both are so elegant. I love hearing you both listen. In fact, I'm finding myself remembering, hey, I'm hosting the show. You're not listening to it, so you got to pay attention. So I think it's a good question. I think it's a challenging question, which I really appreciate. I've often liked questions more than answers, but what I will say, if you are someone who Star Wars for you is the movies as they've been, how they've been told, and you don't like variety or a bit of a change or a different point of view on the story, then I can see it being challenging. But what I would say to that, just like Marvel's What If on Disney Plus, which is also excellent in various degrees of excellence, depending on what episode and your proclivities towards storytelling are, I feel like this hits all of the right emotional beats. The mythology is so beautiful and profound. If press, I would say it's more anime than it is Star Wars, but it is anime. That's the point. The point is they gave these directors who love Star Wars like we do, they gave them a chance to play in the sandbox and tell a Star Wars story with their own unique sensibilities, artistic preferences, and style. And this is a home run like I didn't expect. I mean, Star Wars, I love Star Wars. Obviously, we all love Star Wars. I don't love every single story in the same way, and I don't think that would be genuine if I actually did. This gave me like The Last Jedi. It gave me a formula that I knew, but it presented to me in a very, very different recipe and in a very different way to ingest. And it was just tremendous. So if you, the idea of family, the sacred nature of the Force, the fact that we're all connected both through nature and with one another, the sacred talisman of the lightsaber, the love of fathers and sons or fathers and daughters, and the relationship between teacher and student, all of those things, irrepressible, frightening evil that may or may not be redeemed, differences in point of view and how we decide to settle our differences. It's all there. I can't wait to see what the discourse is for this, because I think it gives us a refreshing opportunity to look at Star Wars differently. And to me, that is only healthy.
Concur.
Agree. And I think I've watched What If, and my biggest issue with my biggest issue with What If is I want to know what the creators were thinking. And you don't get that with the Marvel series in the same way that we have with The Mandalorian and now with Visions. We get the opportunity to meet and to hear the directors and creators talk about what they're doing and why they're doing it. And I don't think we realize how lucky we are, because not only do we get an exceptional episode, but we also get the explanations and the reasons and what inspired them to do it. I just think we're very lucky.
Oh, yeah. It's an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah. I think Disney Plus, and I've said it before, and I'm not just saying this because we're Disney fans, but Disney Plus is really the gift that keeps on giving.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is...
As we near the end of the show today, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to have a cup of coffee with me and for helping to spread the word about our Star Wars family we've got here at Coffee with Kenobi. Be sure to tune in Monday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live at www.coffeewithkenobi.com/live or www.facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi and have a cup of coffee, tea, or any beverage of your choosing with me as we continue the conversation. To join us in the CWK Cafe, which is our Facebook group, and share your Star Wars thoughts, comments, reviews, and opinions in a family-friendly, spoiler-free place that is also drama-free, go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/community and be part of the conversation, talk about this week's show, or just talk about some Star Wars. We have a lot of fun, and you'll make some new friends as well as catch up with longtime friends along the way. I also want to thank all of the new and longtime members of the CWK Alliance and let you know how much I appreciate your help and encouragement. If you want to join the CWK Alliance, go to www.cwkalliance.com and sign up today. Not only will you help out Coffee with Kenobi, but you also get access to CWK Pour-Over, the exclusive weekly podcast not heard anywhere else. It's a great way to support and help out the show, and 10% of your monthly contributions go directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital to support the incredibly important work they are doing to help these brave children and their families. Plus, contributors at the CWK All-Star level can watch a video podcast of CWK Pour-Over hosted by me, Tom Gross, and Corey Clubb. Feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions. In addition to being part of the community on Facebook, please don't forget to visit our website at www.coffeewithkenobi.com for Star Wars news, announcements, reviews, videos, and so much more. If you have a question for me or just want to share your thoughts on the air, feel free to email me at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com and I'll share them on the show. You can also connect with me on Twitter at Mr. Zaire, MRZEHR, or on Instagram at DanZareCWK. There are also a lot more ways to connect with me and Coffee with Kenobi on social media. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi. Check us out on Pinterest or subscribe to our Coffee with Kenobi YouTube channel. On our YouTube channel, you can find Facebook Live video, different interviews throughout the years, highlights of video coverage throughout the Coffee with Kenobi history, and the audio podcast itself. You can order my book, The Star Wars Book, which I co-wrote with Lucasfilm's Pablo Hidalgo and Cole Horton, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Books A Million, Walmart, or anywhere books are sold. You can also find my writing on Coffee with Kenobi's website, as well as StarWars.com, where I am an official blogger there, and on IGN, where I contribute occasionally to articles about Star Wars, as well as other popular culture topics. If you are considering starting a podcast or a blog, let me know how I can help you get started and make your creative vision a reality. Be sure to check out danzmedia.com and we can get the process started. I am also available to come to your school, conference, business, or organization to talk about how to tap into your strengths and help you bring out your very best. I want to inspire you to be inspired so you can take that first step into a larger world. Thanks as always to our Coffee with Kenobi sponsors, especially MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, our travel partner and your one-stop shop for all things Walt Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Cruise Lines, or anywhere on the planet you want to go on your vacation. Please go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel to book your magical vacation and help support Coffee with Kenobi in the process. If you like the show, please tweet out that you're listening, share it on Facebook, or invite your friends and family to tune in and share a cup of coffee with us. And if the Force is especially with you, please take a couple of minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Google Podcasts. Every review makes a huge difference and helps to spread the word, and I can't thank you enough for your help, for your support, and your friendship. I love so much being a part of this wonderful Star Wars community, and I can't thank you enough for all that you do for me and Coffee with Kenobi.
You know what else is the gift that keeps on giving is talking with the two of you and enjoying your Star Wars work and coverage. I can't thank you both enough. This was an excellent way to sort of process these incredible 9 episodes. I can't wait. Please let us know in the CWK Cafe or on social media what you thought about these episodes. Holly, please let everybody know where they can find you and continue the conversation.
You can find me on Twitter as Surliest Girl. Of course, Full of Sith is at Full of Sith. I'm also over on Instagram, but that's mostly, pictures of cats and clothes. But that's Surly Girly 5 if you want to check out over there. That's pretty much it. So I'll hand off.
James.
So you can find me as part of Jedi News on Jedi News Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you want to contact me directly, it's at Planet Burns on Twitter as well, and I'll do my best to come back to you.
And I've said it many times. Jedi News is where I get my Star Wars news. You do a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again both so very much for being on Coffee with Kenobi. Happy to have you back anytime.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you all, of course, for joining us to talk about Star Wars Visions. Let us know on social media, in the CWK Cafe, or anywhere you can talk Coffee with Kenobi. Naturally, all the social media outlets I just mentioned, as well as emailing me directly, danz@coffeewithkenobi.com. I'll be happy to share your opinions on Star Wars Visions on an upcoming episode of Coffee with Kenobi. 3 episodes this week. I hope you've enjoyed them as much as I've enjoyed bringing them to you. Thank you again, all of you, for being a part of this amazing Star Wars community. I look forward to the next time we get together, hopefully sometime next year, like, I don't know, Star Wars Celebration. It's not too early to get excited for that amazing event in May of 2022. Much, much more to come. Until next time, have a great weekend, and remember, this is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.